收听中文，请稍后点击屏幕下方出现的语言图标，选择 Chinese，您就可以收听中文的口译。谢谢。Thank you.
Thank you. And Russian.
Здравствуйте, добро пожаловать на семинар биоразнообразие и план по биоразнообразию и лесопосадкам. Если вам нужен перевод на русский язык, выберите внизу экрана опцию «Русский» и нажмите ее, и я буду вам помогать. Спасибо.
Thank you. My name is Brenda Sylvia, and I am the Assistant Director of Community Services for the City of Mountain View. On behalf of the city, I would like to thank you for your time and interest in this important project. We're all very excited that you're here. The general goals of the Biodiversity and Urban Forest Plan are to establish landscaping and tree planting guidelines for public and private property, to outline a blueprint and reporting process for preserving and increasing tree canopy, and to identify opportunities and strategies to enhance and manage wildlife and habitat through partnerships, education, and stewardship. The recommendations and implementations of the Biodiversity and Urban Forest Plan will inform and influence a number of other city plans, projects, and policies. So we put together a city project team for this particular plan with key staff from multiple departments, including community services, community development, public works, and sustainability. And that team is dedicated to providing guidance, input, content review, and general support for this project. We are joined by some of the members from the Biodiversity and Urban Forest Plan project team who've worked hard to bring you this workshop. I'd like to introduce Lindsay Wong, Senior Management Analyst, and Maureen Gershon-Parachi, Recreation Supervisor. For this project, the city hired the San Francisco Estuary Institute, we refer to it as SFEI, to develop the plan. SFEI has demonstrated expertise with biodiversity on a local, national, and global level. They also have a long history of working with agencies to provide science-based research and environmental services, and they will be facilitating the workshop this evening. We will be utilizing an online survey tool called Menti to collect responses. SFEI will provide more info about that and a link in the chat to access. We want to foster productive dialogue and input, so please listen with an open mind, assume positive intent, and show respect for differences. A couple housekeeping items. This workshop, including all questions and comments in the chat, will be recorded and posted on the project webpage. I will now turn things over to Sasha Heath from SFEI. Take it away, Sasha.
Thank you very much, Brenda. I am sorry to say that my camera is currently not working, so I am speaking to you from a black screen that says Sasha Heath. And I'm also waiting for the slides to come up, but in the meantime, I'll just let you know that I am a senior scientist with the San Francisco Estuary Institute, and I'm here with Lauren Stoneburner, who can, excuse me, Lauren Stoneburner from SFEI, who's an environmental scientist, Helen Casandino, and Jenny Simmons, who are both analysts for SFEI. There's the screen. So we're really excited to be here. I'll move on to the next slide. We're going to give you a little background here at the beginning. Why are we here? Why are we all here together? So we're here to discuss the Mountain View Biodiversity and Urban Forest Plan. And what is that? Well, it's a set of visions, goals, and objectives based on science and community priorities to improve biodiversity in the urban forest for increased access to enjoyment of and benefit from nature. So the goal of this is to really get your feedback about your visions and goals and objectives for this plan. And to start off with, nope, I'll go back to that other slide. Oh, yep, that's good. Sorry, Jenny. We're going to give you a couple definitions. I'm sure some of you know these words, and some of you, this might be ground level introduction. So I just get us all on the same page. We define biodiversity as the diversity of all living things in an ecosystem. So that includes mammals, pollinators, plants, and birds. And when we talk about an urban forest, we're talking about the entire population of trees in an urban area or in Mountain View. So that's including both the built up and the vegetated areas, trees in parks, trees next to your house, that sort of thing. So it's like the entire group of trees in a city. Next slide. Okay, we have two more definitions. These are going to come up later in the workshop. First is California native species. So when we talk about native species, we're talking about all organisms, including plants and animals, that have evolved in and are adapted to the local environment here in California, both its physical, its climatic, and its biological conditions. So you're going to hear this word a couple times. And then eventually we'll get to what we're calling climate adapted and regionally appropriate species. So these are organisms that may not be native to California by the definition that I just gave you, but they're not invasive and they can tolerate the region's climate and soils and other environmental characteristics and are sometimes useful as part of a planting palette to beef up support for biodiversity. So I wanted to also discuss a little bit what we mean by biodiversity in a city and start us all on the same playing field. So on the left here, like these are organisms that you probably are familiar with when you think about animals in a city, right? These are animals that are really adapted to the urban environment. So they include things like raccoons and rats and crows and pigeons and kind of, really concrete surfaces, maybe some erosion, not super healthy plants, that sort of thing. So when we're talking about increasing biodiversity in cities, we're not talking about creating habitat for all of these species that are well adapted to the city already. We're talking about creating habitat for a larger community or a bigger host of species. So we're still going to have raccoons, we're still going to have pigeons and crows and rats, but we're also going to have all these other organisms on the right, hopefully, if we do this right. So we'll have quail maybe and dragonflies and healthy native plants and healthier soils and plants that host things like butterflies to both nest and to forage, that sort of thing. So we're still going to see these urban adapted species, but we're trying to make the city a little bit more hospitable to these species that are a little bit more sensitive to the urban environment, if that makes sense. So what are we hoping the urban plan will accomplish, or what will it accomplish? We're hoping it is an actionable plan, meaning it's actually going to happen, for improving vegetation, habitats, and trees for the long-term environmental resilience and community health benefits, so community meaning you. And what we mean by resilience, our definition of resilience, is the ability of something to continue to provide desired functions over time, even when faced with disturbances and stressors. So maybe like an analogy would be a human being is really resilient when they have a lot of negative things coming at them, but they're still able to get up in the morning and go for it. So think about the ecosystem as being able to get up in the morning and like meet the challenges of climate change and maybe fire adaptation, that sort of thing. And then secondly, this is going to include updates to the 2015 Community Tree Master Plan, including that into a broader blueprint for urban forest management and enhancement. So we're going to include the urban forest plan within this biodiversity strategy. On that note, we've thrown a couple technical definitions at you. So if you would like to ask some questions, we have about 2 minutes, I think. And go ahead and throw your questions or comments into the Q&A and we will answer it in the language that you ask it. And it looks like we also have some comments that are happening in the chat as well. So there's both, if everybody could try to pose your questions in the Q&A, which is down on the bottom right next to that share button, or you might not be seeing that, but it's actually the Q&A button just because it'll allow our person answering questions to be able to do it more readily. We'll still get to your questions that are in the chat right now also though. Lots of good ideas here in the chat. Are there any questions in general about the terms I've covered so far? It looks like we have a lot of knowledgeable people here already, and we'll be able to explore some of your ideas through specific activities. But is there anything that you would like me to clarify that I just covered? So there's a question here that asks, shouldn't we prioritize California natives as they are food sources for native insects? Yes, indeed, absolutely. That's why we gave the definition of California native. We're just giving room for if there are some better climate adapted species in the tree community that we can allow for them. But we are absolutely prioritizing native species, if not only to California, but to even a smaller region. Okay, I think I'm going to move on to the next section of this because you guys have some really good questions and it's going to be helping us with the larger conversation. If that's okay, I'm going to get a thumbs up from Lauren. Feel okay about that? Okay, wonderful. All right, so just to give you a little bit more information about the project itself, this is our general timeline for the Biodiversity and Urban Forest Plan. We're currently in the role or currently in the time period for community outreach and engagement, and also conducting some of our analyses that we're just doing in the background, including reviewing policies and precedents and assessing conditions through various means, current conditions, historic conditions, that sort of thing. This outreach and engagement period is going to last through end of October. And we have several other workshops to come, which we will post here. And then we'll be working on developing and hashing over the goals, visions, and actions of the plan. So we're going to kind of simultaneously be writing these while we're getting feedback from you. And then the second half of winter and spring, we'll be working to develop an implementation and evaluation plan that'll also be components of the same plan. And then from spring to winter 2025 is when we will have a review process, and we'll be finalizing it and adopting it through the city council, hopefully, and getting lots of feedback. Sorry, I'm getting some comments through the window here. So this is our general schedule, and we're in the thick of it right now. I'm really happy that you're here joining us in this community and outreach and engagement section. Okay, and just obviously your input matters greatly. Your input will help the city envision a healthier and vibrant Mountain View with the goal of people and nature thriving together. But it's also going to really help us determine what the priorities are for the plan, and will help direct Mountain View for supporting urban nature and the urban forest. So we're taking this community engagement seriously and are really excited to hear your feedback. And we have a couple activities that'll allow you to engage with the material, and I'll hand it off to Helen.
Thank you so much, Sasha. So throughout today's workshop, we'll be using an online survey tool called Mentimeter. This is the way in which we'll be collecting your responses to the questions we'll be asking. So it's really important that we can all try to get onto this Menti website right now. And I'll just say off the bat as well, your responses are anonymous to these questions. So there are a couple of ways that you can get onto this website. One of the ways is to type this link into your phone's web browser. Sasha should be posting this link in the chat shortly, so you can just click on that link or pull it up in your phone's web browser. You can also scan this QR code, and that will take you to the Menti survey as well. And then one last way to access the Menti survey is to just go to menti.com, which you can see at the top of this slide here, and use the access code we have on the slide. So I'm going to give folks a couple of minutes to get onto this Menti site, and then we will do some warm-up questions to all get more familiar with using Menti. And if you're struggling to figure out how to get onto the Menti, feel free to also ask a question in the chat, but really going to this website on your phone or other device will be the easiest way to get access to this survey. So give folks another minute or two. So we've got some thumbs up on the Menti slide here. Hopefully it's seeming fairly straightforward. It's a neat tool, so I'm excited for us all to be using it today. And again, your responses here will be anonymous. But we've got a bunch of activities, so we'd love it if you could get onto this survey site. Okay, so hopefully we are all finding it easy to get onto this Menti site. I'm going to go to the next slide here. Thank you, Jenny. So we're just going to do 2 warm-up questions here to all get familiar with using Menti. And this first question that I will ask is, what is your connection to Mountain View? Great, we've got our first responses. You can select multiple options depending on your situation. There should be 7 options showing up here. And I see that a lot of people have already figured it out, but just make sure to click submit once you have entered all of the responses that you would like to submit. Oh, great. This is great. I love the responses we're getting. It looks like a lot of people live in Mountain View. That's a good sign. Participating in other community events, volunteering, running a business here. Great. So I'll give folks maybe another couple seconds. All right, the responses have stopped coming in. So I am going to ask Jenny that you, and it's okay if you didn't get a chance to respond to either of these warm-up questions. These are just to get us more familiar with using the site. So this next question that I'll ask is, if you do live in Mountain View, in which neighborhood do you currently live? Or, like I see a response coming in here, if you don't live in Mountain View, that's an option as well to select here. And right, it looks like we've got some responses coming in. And as you can see, these responses are coming in live as people submit them. Great. Okay, Montaloma, Springer, Cuesta, Phyllis, a couple of people from outside of Mountain View who are connected to this area in other ways. Fabulous. I'll give people another minute or two to get your responses in, just so I know that we're all feeling good about using this website. All right, so it seems like we've got some good responses coming in. Right. Any last people want to throw in their responses? We'll give us another 30 seconds. And again, if you're having any trouble using the Menti, feel free to enter your question in the chat or to go up to menti.com and use that code that is at the top of this slide here. Okay, no one from North Bayshore, NASA Ames has responded here, but we've got some good responses so far. So I think that it seems like we're all feeling pretty comfortable with responding to these Menti questions. And we're now going to dive in to some more questions about your perspectives on urban nature in Mountain View, on biodiversity, the urban forest. And this first question will be in Menti, so make sure to have your Menti screen pulled up. But I would like us to all think of 3 words that you would use to describe what you hope nature will look like in the city of Mountain View in the future. So this is really a question about your vision for the future of nature in Mountain View. How do you hope it'll look? How do you hope it'll feel? How do you hope it'll function or sound? And just take a minute or two to think about what 3 words you would use to describe your vision. Perfect. And then make sure to click submit when you have entered those 3 words into Menti. And this is a word cloud. So the responses that are put into the Menti by more people will appear as bigger words. But I see we've got some great words coming up here. Vibrant, diverse, expanding, green. Okay. Green is one that's being entered by a lot of people here. Trees, active, fabulous. Okay, great, great. Shady, that's a good one. But there are no wrong answers here. So thank you everyone for your contributions. And this, again, this is just really getting at what you hope for nature in the future, what that vision of yours is for how you want nature to be in your city. Okay, it looks like diverse, shady, and green are part of many folks' visions for nature in the city. It's great to see. Integrated, that's an interesting word to use as well. Thriving. Great. Okay, well, thank you everyone for contributing these words to this word cloud here. These are some really, really exciting, interesting words to describe your visions for nature and the future of Mountain View. And I'm actually, I'll give folks another 30 seconds in case there are some last responses that we're hoping to get. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing the word cloud morph a little bit. But I think that we can move ahead, Jenny. Thank you. Okay. So we are now going to move in and just dive a little bit deeper into your visions for nature and Mountain View, what you hope nature can be in this place. And these are going to be a series of fill in the blank questions that you will be taking some moments to think about your answer and then entering your response into Menti. Each person gets one response to each of these questions, but that response can be longer. So yeah, perfect. Write whatever is coming to mind. Just make sure that you've finished writing your response before clicking submit. And this first question that I'll pose is, nature in Mountain View should be blank. What should nature in Mountain View be in your mind? And we can all, submit our responses as we feel inclined to. Great, I'm seeing some wonderful responses so far. And we'll spend around 4 to 5 minutes on this to make sure that we get everyone's responses. And then you'll have a chance to vote on other people's responses that you agree with or that you'd like to amplify. But that'll happen a bit later. Okay, great. And yeah, this question really is open-ended. But yeah, how kind of building on that last activity that we did, how should nature in Mountain View, how should it look? How should it feel? What should it contain? How should it function? Really, whatever direction that you want to take this question. Okay, I'm seeing some great responses here. So you can integrate into city planning, polyculture, not intrusive to the residents. Okay, so I'll give us another, I'm going to say 3 minutes for people to submit their responses to this question. Great. Thank you to everyone who's contributed so far. More local plants, able to provide food sources for native insects. Encouraged and promoted with consideration and inclusion of transportation and other day-to-day city needs. Yeah, I love that, thinking about multiple needs of a space. Climate change has been mentioned. Okay. Right. Native, drought resistant, or food producing. Right. Wild and abundant. Okay, so we have 26 responses so far. And I see there are around 40 people on this call. So I'll give us another minute or two for anyone who hasn't had the chance to respond yet to contribute what they think that nature in Mountain View should be, whatever that means to you. The native wildlife, the native critters, insects and birds. Can't forget about the native insects. Right. So let's give it one more minute here. Again, thank you to everyone who's responded so far. Okay. So I think what we will do now is I'll have Jenny press enter. So this will allow you all on your Menti screen to vote for other people's responses that you agree with or that you would like to amplify. So you should be able to scroll through the responses that people have submitted so far on your Menti screen, and then you have 3 votes to cast for responses that you agree with or that you find compelling and that you'd like to upvote. So I will give us all, let's say, 2 minutes to do that. I saw some really great, beautifully described vision statements in that last screen that we were all looking at. So I'm sure we'll all find it interesting to see what other people have written about. Okay, glad to see some folks voting. And yeah, to vote, you should be able to just click plus on the response that you'd like to upvote. Okay, so maybe some more people are getting familiar with it now. And yeah, I'll give us some more time so that folks have a chance to look through all of the responses. Okay. See, people are still voting, so I don't want to cut us off just yet. Thank you to the 24 people who have voted. Are there any other folks that still want to get those votes in? And I believe you can vote, you can cast your 3 votes for 1 response as well. We'll just wait another minute here. Okay, I think that we should wrap up the voting. So I'll just give 10 more seconds. Anyone who's wanting to get those votes in. And I will say that if anyone doesn't get their feedback in at any point today and would like to provide more feedback, you can go to the website for this project, which we will be sharing the link to as well, to provide additional feedback. Okay, I think that we should look at the results of the votes. Jenny, can you press enter? Okay, so let's read these first 8 that have been voted for. So nature in Mountain View should be an integral part of all city planning for roads, for housing, for commercial development, etc. Okay, I like that, making sure that nature is taken into account across multiple parts of city planning. Right, so similar response here. Nature in Mountain View should be integrated into the footprint of housing development project plan designs. Most urban forests are on private lands. Okay, so making sure that nature is distributed across these development project plans. Nature in Mountain View should be all around us as we work, live, and play. Right, I'm seeing a theme that we want nature integrated across all these spaces that we work, live, and play in. Nature in Mountain View should be accessible to everyone. Yes, that is so important to make sure that everyone equally can benefit from all the benefits of nature. And I'll read a couple more. Nature in Mountain View should be in service of both humans who may want to grow food and recreate, and the ecosystem. That's, yeah, very, very important, so that we all of us, part of this ecosystem, humans included, can benefit. Nature should provide shade, should be climate tolerant, safe, and accessible, should be prioritized to add to the quality of life of people and creatures. Yes. Well, thank you everyone for submitting these responses and thinking about your vision for what nature can, could, or should be in the city. So we're going to move on to the next polling question, Jenny. And again, thank you to everyone who responded. So this next question, similar format, everyone gets one response. This is a fill in the blank. And the question I'll be asking, the fill in the blank question, is a cherished place or natural resource in Mountain View that we value is blank. And there's no, you can submit a longer answer similar to the last question here. Just whatever's coming to mind about a cherished place, a cherished natural space or natural resource that you really value and that you think maybe is accomplishing some of those aspects of the vision that you highlighted in our earlier activities. Okay, great. I'm seeing some good responses here. And yeah, I love that someone put in monarch butterflies and burrowing owls. So this, yeah, not just as a physical place, but also a part of nature that you really connect with and cherish. Great. And yeah, I'll give us a couple minutes here to let folks respond. This is really, yeah, this is really about the parts of the city that are functioning well as areas for nature, or parts of nature in the city that are currently being supported and that you care about. I am seeing a large redwood in front of someone's house highlighted. Our parks, open spaces, local neighborhood parks, well lit with safe walking paths. Okay, getting a lot of good responses here. Thanks to the 21 folks who have submitted an answer. Yeah, I'll give us another two minutes or so. I'm seeing the redwoods mentioned again. Stevens Creek Trail mentioned a couple times. Right. 25, 26 responses. And again, if you haven't had a chance yet to get onto the Menti, just follow this information at the top of this slide here, menti.com, and then you'll be able to enter this access code just in case you haven't been able to access the Menti yet. Fabulous. 27 responses. That's great. Okay, so let's see, I'll maybe give us one more minute for folks to submit their answers here. yeah, we're really interested in knowing what you value so we can think about what we need to be aware of providing support for in the future. Okay. I'm seeing the response number playing out at 27. Okay, let's move on to voting. So similar thing. Vote for the 3 answers that really resonate with you. And we'll give a minute or 2 for this and then come back and see what people have coalesced around.
Then for the Menti responses, Helen or Jenny, I guess we're not being able to see all of the responses. So when in the middle of showing the results, could you scroll down the screen to be able to see all of them?
Yes, yeah,
Great,
we
thank
can
you.
definitely do that. Thanks, Sasha.
That was something we got in the chat.
Great, yeah. Yes, we can definitely do this for this question and then for the last fill in the blank question as well. Okay, let's see, we've got some votes coming in. Thank you to everyone who's voted. Okay, great. Thanks to everyone who voted. And yeah, just as a reminder, you should be able to scroll through and see all those responses as well when you're scanning through the responses to vote. But we will go through all these responses here as well. All right, 25 people. It's a great amount of engagement here so far. I'll give folks another 30 seconds to get those last votes in. Okay. Okay. I think that we should move forward, Jenny. So if we want to look at the results here. Okay, so the most popular answer here, a cherished place or natural resource in Mountain View that we value are monarch butterflies, burrowing owl, milkweeds, shoreline lake, and the Bay Trail. So a combination of parts of our ecosystem and habitat areas that we really value and that are supporting wildlife as well. So that's, yeah, great response there. A cherished place or resource that we value in Mountain View are our parks. Lots of greenery and trees such as Shoreline Regional Park, Cuesta Park, and Ranksdorf Park. Okay, great. So these important areas supportive of nature in the city, supporting lots of vegetation. Another area that's valued is the Stevens Creek Trail Corridor. Great. Something else that is valued here are the urban forests and highway vegetation barriers with tall trees, dense canopies above the highway sound walls that reduce noise, filter particulates, absorb pollutants and contaminants. Great. Okay, so getting at the multiple benefits of urban trees. I love that. Can you scroll down, Jenny? Right. What else do we value? Our community gardens, our parks, open spaces, and that Stevens Creek Trail again. Our streets with shady trees. Okay, so one of the benefits of urban trees. We're valuing the shoreline and burrowing owls, downtown as well. Local neighborhood parks with well-lit and safe walking paths. Great. Okay. So places that are providing safe spaces to recreate, to live as well. Valuing the habitat created for burrowing owls, the habitat created on Google campus by providing native plants. Valuing shorebird nesting season. Okay, so those shorebirds, making sure that they have habitat as well for nesting. Right, valuing trees, especially redwoods, shoreline park. The downtown area is also being highlighted, and the open space surrounding us as well. Let's see here. The egret rookery, so the habitat for egrets provided in the city in Rancho de San Antonio. Cuesta Park is highlighted, a wide diversity of trees and areas to enjoy nature. Redwoods, permaculture, native plants, and food forests and trees are also valued. A shady downtown, Cuesta Annex, the large oak trees at School Park. And then we have an area near Shoreline Lake, and more parks in the area. Great. And then Jen, if you just want to scroll down a little bit more. Great. Okay. So yeah, redwoods surrounding us, Cuesta Annex, and and then someone also highlighting that certain areas that they value have been developed, but that they also admire the older trees in the city. So thank you everyone for these responses. I really appreciate them. We're going to move to our last fill in the blank question here. So it's the same format as the last two questions. We would like to hear one thing that you think needs to improve related to nature, to the urban forest, to biodiversity and the city. So again, I'll give us probably three to 4 minutes to provide answers to this question. And then we will all do a similar voting process. And then we may not have time to go through all the answers to this question after the voting process, but we'll go through a couple of the highlighted ones. Great. Okay, we've got a first response here. So yeah, really just areas where we need some improvement to get to that vision of what nature should be in the city, whatever that means to you. Okay, perfect. Some good answers coming in so far. And this will be our last fill in the blank question. Okay, great, great. Seeing some themes here. I'll be quiet for a sec to let you all think. Great. You can spend 1 more minute. And thank you for everyone who's responded so far. I'll wait 30 more seconds for anyone to finish what they're writing. Okay. I would like us now to move to voting. So Jenny, if you can. Perfect. And while voting, again, you should be able to scroll down and look through everyone's responses, and we'll take we can take 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes for this. And thank you for everyone who contributed to this last question. Voting, so everyone should be able to choose 3 responses that they resonate most with, if you'd like. We definitely would appreciate your feedback. Okay, so yeah, give people another minute or so. And thank you for everyone's participation today. We've got lots of questions. All right. We've got 18 people so far. Let's see if we can get a couple more votes in here. Yeah, for the sake of time, I think I'll cut us off in about 30 seconds. But fabulous. I'm glad several of us have voted. Fabulous. Thanks, Jenny. Okay. So I hope that everyone had a chance to look through those responses. For the sake of time, I'm just going to read these first 4 or so. All right. One thing that needs to improve is, this was one that was voted, evergreen canopy, especially around walking paths and playgrounds. Okay, so the importance of enhancing canopy around where we recreate, where we walk and play, or where children play. One thing that needs to improve is tree canopy and shade along our streets and in parks and everywhere. I sense a theme that canopy needs to improve. One thing that needs to improve is planting of native plants and reducing irrigated footprint in city parks. Okay, I'd like that, thinking about drought tolerance. One thing that needs to improve is nature must surround us in all aspects of life in the built environment, not just in parks. Our bodies and our minds are adapted to the natural environment. Okay, great. So thinking about integrating nature more throughout the city rather than just in parks. All right, so this is just a scan through of some other responses here. Apologies that I don't have time to read through all of them, but you all left some great responses here. So I really appreciate your openness about this, getting us towards that vision that we all were thinking about earlier in the session. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Jenny. So we're going to switch gears a little bit for this last section of the workshop here to talk about trade-offs. So oftentimes when it comes to making decisions about the environment and urban spaces, we are faced with trade-offs between achieving environmental benefits and other desired benefits or necessary functions of a space. So have your mentees out. I'm going to present a series of a couple multiple choice questions and to just ask what decision you would make when faced with a couple of different trade-offs. So go with your gut. There are no wrong answers here. For underutilized areas and parks, would you be okay replacing grass with resilient native landscaping? Yes or no, and you'll be able to select yes or no in your Menti as well. And don't forget to click submit. So we talked about resilience being the ability of something to continue to function in a beneficial way, even when faced with stressors over time. So an example would be drought tolerant native landscaping. Great, I'm glad to see lots of engagement here. And again, no wrong answers here. Just want to get your authentic perspective on some of these trade-offs we might encounter when it comes to the environment and urban spaces. All right, I'm going to give 10 more seconds here. I'm seeing it be static. So let's go to the next question, Jenny. Okay. This next question, it's again a multiple choice question in Menti, so you'll be able to respond there. What type of landscaping would you like to see more of in the city of Mountain View? California native plants, a lot of them. Climate adapted and regionally appropriate plants, doesn't matter if they're native as long as they're not invasive, or a mix of both. Okay, great, interesting. Yeah, we talked about those different classifications for plants earlier. Thank you everyone for submitting your responses here. All right. I'm thinking that this will be the magic number of responses. So maybe I'll just give it 10 more seconds. And thank you to everyone who responded. Okay, let's move to the next question, Jenny. Okay, so this next question is about older trees that are expected to fail in the near future due to a variety of reasons, potentially excess water needs, changing soil conditions, drought intolerance, increasing high winds and storms, or again, a variety of other reasons. But for these trees that are expected to fail in the near future, should these be proactively replaced? Yes or no? Great. Okay, thank you. Thank you to those that have responded. It's a pretty even split with this question, so that's good for us to know as we think about the urban forest in Mountain View. All right. Okay, so the yes is a slight advantage over the no's for now. Let's give it another couple seconds. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so that's what I said earlier. The reasoning for why we might need to think about these older trees. Okay, let's move to the next question, Jenny. Okay, so this is our last Menti question. When street trees have to be removed, should street tree replacement, and these street trees would be supplied and planted by the city, should this replacement be required of the property owner? So right now it is when street trees need to be removed due to failure or other reasons, replacement is currently voluntary at the request of the property owner. So should it be required? Yes or no? Fabulous. Great. We'll give another minute for folks to submit responses. Maybe 30 more seconds for anyone to get in their last answers on this. Fabulous. Well, thank you everyone for your openness today and your contributions. I really appreciate your time, and I am going to pass the mic now to Brenda, who's going to close our time here.
Thank you so much, SFEI team. As you can see, we have some upcoming outreach and engagement activities planned. This is next up. We have a community survey, which is coming soon. We also have a kids and families workshop on Saturday, August 10th. Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. It's a study session for this particular project on Wednesday, September 11th. We have a teen workshop on Monday, September 16th. Senior Center pop-up Wednesday, October 2nd. The Mandarin and Spanish speaking workshop on Wednesday, October 2nd as well. And another general community workshop, virtual and in-person opportunities on Thursday, October 17th. Thank you again for your time and participation in this. We really appreciate it. Please continue the conversation on the project webpage at biodiversitymv.com. At the project webpage, you can ask questions, share your ideas, get more information, and also see more about the upcoming engagement opportunities. We look forward to your continued support and participation in this project. And I'm wishing you all a very good evening, and we'll see you soon. So thank you.